So today is the 26th of March 2022 and we've come down to the Paseo Maritimo in Palma and we're just going to have a little walk along here. It is windy, it's a bit blustery, so apologies right from the beginning if the sound's a bit windy and a bit breezy and a bit blustery.
And it's grey and cold.
Yeah, it's a bit grey and it's a bit, well, it's not too cold. That's all a matter of opinion, isn't it? Anyway, let's get going. First thing I notice in the sea are these like worms, and they're absorbents. So what they do, they put these on the surface if there's been an oil spill. So my guess is there must have been a bit of a spill in the harbour here, and they deploy these, and the material absorbs the oil, and some of them do look a little bit black. Really a nuisance when oil gets into the water. Used to be a big problem when we first came to Mallorca 30 odd years ago. Used to go to the beach, and quite often the children would sit on some oil and get it on their on the body or on the swimming suit. Do you remember that?
The feet as well.
And the feet, yeah. And that's over the years it seems to have been dealt with, and we don't have it very much anymore. Of course, that was partly due to oil tankers washing their tankers out at sea, and the oil floating on the surface and then coming ashore. That was banned, and it is traceable. The oil is traceable because of the it's got like a fingerprint, so we can tell where the oil came from. So I guess the owners of the ships are being a little bit more careful about how they clean out their tanks now. So it's been quite a while since we've walked along the Paseo Maritimo, and it's always nice to have a wander around here. It's usually quite crowded. It's a Saturday afternoon. Usually quite a few people come out for a stroll after lunch, but we've got the place almost to ourselves today, and that's really because the weather just isn't very good. And we've had 2 or 3 weeks of very poor weather, and according to the Spanish Met Office there's another 8 or 10 days. So if you're on holiday here, I have my apologies, not all that I can do about it, but I hope you can find some way of enjoying your holiday that doesn't involve the sun and withstands the cold weather. For me, and for Anita as well really, we've just got 2 more weeks left at school. Lots to do in those 2 weeks. Exams to mark, reports to write.
Show to do.
Show, Anita's got a show to do. So lots, we're going to be very busy for the next 2 weeks. But then we've got our Easter holidays, and we've got 2 of our children and their families coming out here over the Easter period, so that will be really quite cool. So we're looking very much forward to that. And oh, it's a bit blustery, isn't it? It's a good word. And it's been like this yesterday. The weather forecast came up and said just a constant 34 km/h wind, and it doesn't feel any different today. It's just a constant wind. It's not gusting particularly, it's just windy. And we've had quite a lot of rain, in fact a lot more rain than normal during the past month. And that rain and the winds that have been coming up from the Sahara have been bringing up a lot of dust. We in Majorca seem to have been quite lucky, and it's avoided us by and large. There's been a little bit of dust here, but parts of the mainland have been really hit by the dust. And over the past few days, listened to radio reports down in the south of Spain where everywhere turns orange. So the sky turns orange, and the ground turns orange, and everything turns orange because the dust, Sahara dust, comes over and just coats everything. And one of the real cool pictures I saw was someone skiing. I'm not sure where it was, in south of Spain in the Sierra Nevada, or whether it was up in the north of Spain, but somewhere in Spain they were skiing, and it looked as though they were skiing on a sand dune because the Sahara dust had come up and coated the snow with sand, and so it looked just like a sand dune that they were skiing down, except where the tracks were, it was all white because the snow underneath had been exposed. For those of you who have been giving me suggestions about microphones and external mics, it's definitely on my to-do list, but unfortunately this camera is the GoPro Max, and you can't have an external mic. So if I were to get an external mic,
100 miles an hour this wind now.
very, very windy now. If I were to get an external mic, I would have to record the sound separately and then edit the two together, which, well, just another technical challenge, so it's not too difficult. But mostly we don't need it. It's just days like today where it's extremely windy. We've got a couple of ducks here. The water's very choppy, obviously, with all the wind, but it is clear. I mean, you can actually, with a bit of imagination, see the bottom.
You didn't put your hat on?
So I got out of the car, I had my hat with me, and probably a good job I didn't bring it, because it would have been blown away by now if I had. Just like we're getting blown away. On the COVID front, the numbers did start to go down, and now they seem to have plateaued again, and we're still getting what are, in my opinion, quite high numbers. The government doesn't seem to be too worried or concerned about it, but here in Mallorca we still do have some restrictions, the face mask restriction being the main one that people are concerned about. Don't have to wear them on the streets, but we do have to wear them indoors, and the Spanish Minister for Tourism, for Health, has said that that will go soon, but did not define what they meant by soon. So with Easter just around the corner, I think maybe they probably mean after Easter. As we're coming up to Easter, we're getting all of the Easter parades will this year hopefully go on as normal. They certainly planned to go on, or perhaps as normal is wrong. They will go on, but they probably won't be as normal, and they are quite something to see in Palma. So on different days over the Easter period, there are processions which go through the streets, which involve hundreds of people and thousands of spectators. And the processions, they're all religious, but they are quite spectacular. And so if you happen to be in Palma over the Easter period, do look out for those. I'm guessing that the Mallorca Daily Bulletin will be publicising the actual days of the events and times, and the routes as well. There's several different routes going from one church to another church, carrying their valuables. So it's one of the things we will try to do with our children when they're over here. We were lucky in a few years ago, we were in Seville in the south of Spain, and we did actually see them preparing or training for one of these processions, and it's all a load of young people who have to carry this enormous weight around, which in Palma will be a statue or some religious artifact, but in Sevilla they were just training, so they were just carrying lumps of concrete around, I think, but it looked incredibly heavy, and they would walk a few meters and then put it down with a great big thud, just indicating how heavy these things really are. Oh, the wind's dropped just a little. And what we're seeing now, we're seeing some of the tourist boats. So all of that's now coming back to life. So we've got the catamaran, the glass bottom boats as well, which will take you out on different trips around the harbour and further afield from there. Not sure what restrictions there are at the moment on these party attractions.
All these people just got off a coach. Looks like they're going more.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would want to go out on one of these boats today, though. It must be quite choppy out there. At least it says a group have just got off a boat, got off a bus, and yes, it looks as though they're getting on the Barca Samba. Sounds like a dancing boat. Usually great fun, I would imagine, but if you're rocking and rolling around on the sea, make sure you've taken your seasick pills
Can we
first.
follow them on?
Yeah, we can be part of the crowd, can't we? We'll look part of the crowd, don't we? Yeah. Would you do that, dear? Would you? No was the swift reply, in case you didn't hear that. I think in the past we have actually got on one of these boats and had a little tour of the harbour or something.
Not a party boat.
Not a party boat, no, but a touristy boat. I think we might have done that once here, and we've done it in several other parts of the island. But not sure how much fun that's going to be for these young people today. But good luck to them. If they stay within the harbour, it's fairly calm. It's just the wind that's going to be the issue. If they go out to the harbour, they could have a problem. There was one big cruise ship in, one of the German AIDA, and we've started getting quite a few cruise ships in. Two more? Dos más? Nearly. Oh, I hope they do have a nice time. Here's one I like. I like these old sort of wooden ships. 2 masts. Well, we just come out a little bit and the wind's picking up again. I'm sure in some different parts of the island there'll be some people really enjoying this wind with their kite surfers, the ones that are just doing ordinary surfing, and the windsurfers as well. Might be a bit windy for windsurfers. And kite surfers, they could get really carried away with this. Literally carried away. Yeah, I think we're safer on dry land here, dear. A grey day. The temperature is probably, I'm having to guess here because I've not seen a thermometer, but I'm having to guess it's in the
60.
Mid-teens, high teens, maybe 16, 18 degrees. And certainly now that the wind has dropped, it just feels a lot milder. duck pinching the pigeon food. So it looks like somebody's dropped some food there for them. A duck scooping it up. Just in front of us we've got the tourist bus, the city sightseeing bus. We've never actually done that in Palma. One of the things we may do at some point. It looks very busy. The top floor's pretty good, pretty full. And they have actually got a roof on today, as there was threats of rain. I don't think we've seen much in the way of rain, just a few spots, nothing very much. But that might be interesting to have a little tour of Palma and see what the sightseeing people see. I know a few years ago we did one in Rome, and that was really an excellent way to see Rome. A guided tour from the top of the bus. As we walk past the yachts down here, we can hear the rigging lashing against the masts. If some of you are coming to Palma and you've not been here for a couple of years, then during the lockdown they changed the roads a little bit on the Paseo Maritimo, and where there used to be 3 lanes there's now only 2, and they've moved the parking a little bit so that cyclists and scooter riders can actually have their own space separate from the pedestrians. So where we're walking now, you might be able to see just over on the left there's a grey area. That used to be the cycle path, but that's now moved further over and is separated from the traffic by parked cars for much of the way along. And I'm in 2 minds myself of whether it's a good idea. Having parked in some of these spaces, it really is difficult to get out of them safely. I don't know if I've heard of any particular accidents caused by it, but it does seem a little bit dangerous. So we're just going past the Hotel Palma Belvedere, and then the next one along is the Costa Azul. Newspaper today did say that there are 4 new hotels opening up in Palma, and flights are they're up on 2019. So it looks as though it's going to be a busy summer, though people are a little bit nervous with COVID, obviously, should that resurface. But the situation in Ukraine is also of particular concern. 70 refugees arrived from the Ukraine in Mallorca yesterday, and they get a great reception here. There's lots of support. There's a Ukrainian church here, but lots of other groups as well who are collecting different materials and money in order to support these people who've been displaced from their homes. And I was in contact with the Lions Club, who've been organising a flight to Poland to take materials and goods that they've been collecting. So there's lots of support. We ourselves, with the Masons, have sent some money to the Anglican Church on the island, who are also supporting the people of Ukraine. It's a terrible situation, and let's all hope that it can be sorted out very soon. And as we've walked a little bit further, it seems to have got a little bit calmer. Pardon?
The water isn't rippling.
No, the water's calmer here. There's no fetch.
That's it.
And then, as she says that, the wind picks up. We're just coming up to the Can Blanc, which is a bar right on the front here where all the boats are. It's a place we quite often stop for a coffee, but people will also stop there to have lunch as well. This is where the cyclists come back with the promenaders, and if any of you watched one of my early videos just along here, we're going to walk across the riverbed because there's no water. There's no tide here as such. If there is, it's minimal. But the water level does rise and fall, largely due to air pressure, really. And at the moment, the water level's quite low, and so we can walk through the riverbed. If we don't walk through the riverbed, then we have to walk across the stepping stones, so sometimes there is a little water here. But if you look on one of the earlier walks that we did here, I get to this point and a group of cyclists come past and they just go to one side like this, and it must have been very, very slippy, and the cyclist went, or at least the bicycle went from underneath the cyclist. Fortunately he wasn't hurt, other than his pride, I think, was severely hurt. He was with the family, and they watched him take the tumble. But because it's a 360 camera, you can actually view all of that from all sides. This is Can Blanc. And as we get further along, we get to the older part of the port. And at the end of here we have the Royal Yacht Club, and we also have the STP shipyard, where ships are taken out of the water, ships, boats, yachts, taken out of the water for refitting and servicing and all the things that go with it. And in the past, many of these yachts have belonged to wealthy Russians. I'm not sure who these belong to. There are some big ones in there I can see, and it's something that's been carefully monitored throughout the Mediterranean, here in Mallorca in particular, and I think some may already have been embargoed. Something the Spanish are quite good at. A very quiet walk along here, other than the wind noise. Not very many people at all. We're just coming up to, well, just after 2:30 in the afternoon. Don't forget, dear, the hour changes tonight. Spring forward, we're going to lose an hour's sleep. Somebody said, how's that on Mother's Day? You're going to lose an hour of Mother's Day. Oh well, that's the way the cookie crumbles. Now, hopefully tomorrow the weather's going to be a little bit better, temperature's going to climb a little bit, and we'll be monitoring the situation, and if the weather is good we might go a little bit further afield and see how things are. Some other little bits of news: just like the rest of the world, rest of Europe, petrol prices have gone up and up and up, and reaching the dizzy heights of nearly €2 for a litre. Interestingly, compared with the UK, petrol is more expensive here than diesel. So if you've got a diesel car, it's cheaper to fill up, and you usually get more miles to the gallon. Win-win situation. The other issue that is related is that on the mainland in particular, hauliers have been striking because they've been hit by the cost of fuel, and it means that their overheads have considerably increased, and so they've been striking, which means that goods have not been moving around on the mainland. For us here in Mallorca, there have been some protests and minimal amount of strike action, but if there's no goods coming to the island, there's nothing for our hauliers to haul around anyway. So Anita went to the supermarket this morning to do some shopping, and
no milk today.
No milk today. Oh, that's a good title for a song. No milk today. Yes, I remember that one.
Something's going on.
And other things like bread in short supply as well. So it's like the essentials. A friend of mine was saying there was no milk, but the wine aisles were full, so we can't drink milk. Well, we've got wine to drink, and there's the same two ducks we saw before.
I think they are.
Look like it, don't they? So we are seeing some issues there, and that's affecting my coffee. I like my coffee with milk.
No froth today.
We do have some milk, so we're not desperate for milk. So we buy long life milk, and you buy it in 6 litres at a time. So I think we've got enough for a little while. And the other thing is about if all of this coming together is causing prices to rise as well. So we, like everyone else in the world, or certainly in Europe, are noticing that our weekly shop is costing considerably more than it used to cost. And that will have the knock-on effect that we'll go to a restaurant and they will eventually have to put their prices up. Taxi drivers in Palma have been granted permission to put the taxi fares up by just over 6%, so you will find that your taxi rides are a little bit more expensive when you come out this summer. The world is definitely changing. We haven't actually made any plans yet for what we're going to be doing this summer. I guess that'll start to take shape when the children come over for Easter. We know exactly what they are doing. So more ducks. Now we've got pigeons as well. Coming up to Safashina, and now we've got car noise. If we haven't got wind noise, we've got car noise, and we're just going over the river here, which sometimes has virtually no water in, but just looking across the road I can see the water just dropping down one of the, almost a waterfall, and that's quite nice to see some water in here now and again. We did come along here at the beginning of the month and walked along the opposite side of the road where Baleares Day was being celebrated, so in Sa Faxina, and all along the front below Espailloard. Espailloard is the art gallery, but all along the front there was stalls, and right along to the cathedral and up the Borne up to CNA. We've got a video of that if you are interested in what it's like at Baleares Day. That was on the 1st of March. I think actually I broke it down into 2 videos. Just coming up to a tree in front, and it's an orange tree, and it's laden with oranges up there. I'm not sure how good they are to eat. I'm told that they might be bitter and not very sweet. But starting today, I think it is the fair of oranges in Soller. And one thought was to have gone there today, but the weather really didn't look very good to go there today. So that's one of the places we may go to tomorrow if the weather's fine. Next weekend, I think the fair is still on. It's on all week, and they've got all sorts of things to do with oranges there. And one curiosity when we went last year is that you go to a restaurant, and the ones that are taking part in the fiesta have a special menu for the fiesta, and usually a 3-course meal, and each course has orange in the menu. So we did actually try that, I think.
Did we?
I think we did last year. We need to have a look back at last year's video. The only dish we can think of is duck à l'orange, which Anita likes and does like a duck. An orange sorbet or orange ice cream. Just thinking that the starter might be something like a ham with orange. That could be quite nice. Anyway, we might be going up to so yeah, and if we do find anything interesting like that, we'll certainly be making a video. So this part of the harbour is the fishing part, and you can see the fishing boats over there. Well, they too have been on strike because they have the same situation as the hauliers. The fishing boats obviously have to use fuel, usually diesel, and they go out and their engines are running all the time, and they've got to pay the sailors, the people who work on there, and all their other costs. And they've been saying that by the time they come back, what they can sell their fish for, it just isn't worth doing. So the boats here spent a few days in port, not going anywhere, which creates a bit of a problem for a fish restaurant like this one, which smells a bit fishy, so Anita says. Escuela, tapas bar. So these sort of fish restaurants pride themselves on the fresh fish that's caught here daily, and if they're not catching fish, then they're having to resort to frozen fish, which obviously is not to their liking. This part here is where the fishermen bring the nets. They take them off the boats, lay them out, dry them out, and have a look to see if they need repairing. And you'll sometimes see them sitting over a net, just doing a bit of sewing, I suppose. Is that what they do to fishing nets? Embroidery, not quite, but repairing their nets. There's something I've not seen before. There's a van parked up. Maybe I have. And they're dining. There's a whole lot of people. This is a catering van, and it's because they are filming. Mallorca has largely become a film set, and so when they film here, they take catering vans with them, and so you can see there's lots of vans here.
Yes.
And all of these people that are sitting down will be involved with the filming. They've been doing a Bollywood film actually down here in Palma, so my guess is that that's what this is all about. So the catering here is specifically to do with filming, and that's what the no parking signs say. And usually they come here because they've got good facilities and good weather. Well, the facilities are good for sure. The weather's not been so kind to them. So just come to this end of the yacht marina and we see some of the bigger yachts here. So some of the palm trees have had a bit of a prune recently as well. We've given some supporting legs. So we're getting more evidence of film crews here, more vans and more film looking like equipment, including a rather old Rolls Royce. So there's a whole group of inline skaters going up the steps over there. This looks like a challenge. And across the road is where we have the filming going on, preparation for filming, and the Rolls Royce. Is that a silver shadow? Somebody will probably tell me. Interesting. We're just going to cross the road, see what the filmings look like. I'm always intrigued by all of this sort of gear. I have in the past been involved with some of this in commercials. They have these wonderful looking cameras, and here's me with a 2-inch square camera. Oh, now we're just approaching the cathedral and the aduana, the customs house. traffic lights have changed. Oh, there we go. As we cross the road here, we approach the statue just in front. Not sure whether we can cross or not. No, we can't cross yet. The man's on red. Ah, now he's on green. And the statue just over the front, just to the left, is of Ramon Llull. Ramon Llull is who my Masonic lodge is named after, and a philosopher from the island. And I hope one day to make a video giving us a little bit of information about Ramon Llull. Let's do a little bit of research on that one. So we're just coming past Parc de Mar, and Parc de Mar is the lake, and there's a bar down there, and the cathedral, and the palace right next to the cathedral, where we've actually been to concerts in the past. And now we're actually walking up into the town.
City.
It gets a little bit quieter, a little bit calmer. When we first came to Mallorca, on I think the first Saturday, we headed into Palma, because that's what you do in England on a Saturday afternoon, or we used to do in England on a Saturday afternoon. And when we got into Palma, all the shops were shutting. We didn't really understand it. Nowadays, a lot of them will actually stay open on a Saturday afternoon. I'm surprised Anita's not said, haven't you seen the pretty flowers over there? Look at those pretty flowers. So when we were here just 3 weeks ago now, there was stalls and lots of different things going on for the Baleares Day. Stalls have all gone, shops are open, and in front of us we're just coming up to Plaza de la Reina. It's the Queen's Square, if you like, the plaza for the Queen, Plaza de la Reina. And just to the right you can see there is actually underground parking here, which we sometimes use. On a different occasion came up here to have a beer with a friend, and we sat on a table and had a beer. And when the bill came, it was rather exorbitant, and we only to discover that we were actually paying the outside rate rather than the inside rate. It's two different rates for drinks, and we didn't realise that, so we got caught, shall we say. The wind's picking up, but the temperature 19 degrees. I've just had confirmation from my secretary. It's just we're coming up to a pharmacy. That's where you find the temperatures. 19 degrees isn't too bad, is it? If it wasn't windy, it would be quite mild. In the daily bulletin, it says if you're coming out in April, then that's what the average temperature should be, around about 19 degrees. Which, if the sun's shining and it's not too windy, you should be okay to go onto the beach or to sit by the pool. It doesn't feel like that today because it's not shining, the sun's not shining, and it's a bit breezy. across the road here, and this is the Passage del Born, the Borne. I've got a nice pedestrian area in the middle with seating on both sides, which is where much of the fair was. So we can cross over. If you do come to Palma, just a little word of warning, just be careful of flower sellers. They have been known to pick pockets or to snatch purses. I'm not saying they're all like that, but just give you a little bit of a word of warning. Fairly quiet though on the Borne today. I think we're just going to head to the top for a coffee.
Yes, that'd be nice.
I'm not sure whether it's coffee time or beer time, dear. I did sneak out for a beer this morning. It does feel quite mild here now. Just as we get to the top of the Borne, there is a stage set up. Anita came into Palma yesterday and they were setting these stages up. And this is the postponement of San Sebastian, patron saint of Palma is San Sebastian, and it's in January. But because of the restrictions that we had in January, all of the celebrations had to be cancelled. And instead of cancelling them completely, they postponed them. And so the San Sebastian celebration is going to be a little bit different this year, and I'm not sure how well it'll go down with the locals. It usually involves bands playing in different squares, and so that's what this stage is all about here. And it's really quite a big thing, and they have relatively big bands. It's got a lot quieter in recent years, but I can remember in the past the Electric Light Orchestra, which is one of my favourite bands from the years gone by, 70s I suppose. They actually performed in Plaza España. We have no big bands like that anymore, but the bands that they do have here are largely Spanish-based bands now, and quite a few of them will be local. I think I've just lost Anita. She saw a shop that was open, donned her mask, and in she went. But I don't see that she's come out with anything, so...
I want to see if there are some parasols in there.
Oh, parasols, yeah. Anita needs a new parasol. So, it's another good reason to go to Soyer, because that's where we bought the last one. Just coming up to the top of the Borne, and right in front of us is C&A, a shop that we used to have in the UK, no longer. McDonald's, and then Bosch. Bosch, a very famous bar here at the top of the Borne, across the road from C&A. Looks very busy. Not sure they've got a table for us, dear. Oh, Maybe a table here for two?
Ah, sorry.
Right, taken a bit of a while to get served, but we've managed to get a drink. Anita's got a red wine, and I've got my shandy, so cheers everyone.
Cheers.
Worth the wait. Oh, just had a nice drink. Oh, it does feel a lot warm, doesn't it? A lot less breezy.
Die Rambler sind da. Bei der Weite liegt dann jetzt auch.
In large parts of Palma, there's roadworks going on.
Do you speak English?
And this is one of them. So just take a look at the Jaime Tres. Half of the road is actually cut off because of the roadworks. I think it's something to do with water that they're sorting out, but large parts of Palma are going to be like this for the next few weeks. So we'll go back. This is Jaime Tres, and it's where all the fancy shops used to be. I don't know if they still are. Well, I suppose if they're selling Cartier sunglasses, then yeah, still fancy shops. So we walked along the front, along Paseo Maritimo, and now we're just going back towards the car, walking through the shopping streets. A lot quieter, a lot calmer. I mentioned Cartier sunglasses. Here's the Cartier shop. It's actually closed now. So I won't be buying that Cartier watch for you there. Not today anyway. Any other day either. So vehicles can still come down this road, but the opposite side's closed off. It's been like that for a few weeks now. I think since around about the Baleares Day. Season sale, 50% off. Coming up to the, what used to be, I guess, the original El Corte Inglés. Clark shoes here. El Corte Inglés used to be, for those who have been here as long as we have, it was Galerías Preciados, and the El Corte Inglés group bought it out and then converted another building in Palma, perhaps bigger than this one even. So there's two big El Corte Inglés, And there are some other El Corte Inglés shops dotted about the island. This is closed down. It used to be a gentleman's outfit, isn't it?
It used to be
Portofino, years ago. How things change. We don't come into Palma very often, and obviously when we do come we start to see things that have changed since we were last here. So we've got all the shops down here, but up higher above there are apartments, and this is like a desirable area to live by some people. It's not, I don't think it's somewhere I would particularly want to live, but this is a desirable area. Coming up to Paseo Mallorca, see some more roadworks. Paseo Mallorca has roads which run on either side of the Torrente, the riverbed. I mentioned earlier on when we were on the Paseo Maritimo that there was water in the river, so we can now actually have a look to see if that water is here. It should be. I'm just crossing onto the bridge and then looking down towards the sea. And it does look quite clean. Raining, well, it's been raining a lot for the last few weeks, so it's rained in the mountains and eventually collects into these torrentes. We've enjoyed our little walk here in Palma along the Paseo Maritimo, even though it was a little bit windy, and it's not so bad here.
But we did have a drink.
We did manage to stop for a drink. That's always good. But we're going to head off home now, back to the car, and we're off out this evening yet again. So thank you very much for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video. So bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.
Here's a little postscript to our video. A few months ago I came down to Palma specifically to film this particular hotel, and it was all covered over with sheeting and scaffolding, and we couldn't actually see what was underneath. But now it's all unveiled, and there it is. And it is whatever you make of it. It's been painted somewhat in the style of Miro or Picasso, and it's caused a little bit of controversy here in Palma, in Majorca, because the local council say you didn't have permission to do that, and it's got to be painted over, it's got to be made white. and the owners of the hotel have said no, we're keeping it as it is. It's a work of art, and at the moment they're just in a little bit of a spit spat whether they're going to get rid of it or not. But actually, for me, I think it looks quite nice, and it's certainly eye-catching, and in no way is it offensive. And I think looking at it, it's just look at all the different pieces of art there. There's lots of little things to see in it. So I really hope that the hotel is allowed to keep that, and I'll keep you posted. But something interesting, it's just behind the auditorium if you're going to try and look for it. So the auditorium is on the Paseo Maritimo, and we're on the road that runs parallel to that. But I thought we'd walk back to the car this way and just include this in our video. So thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.